What is up, everybody? Escape211 here. You know what? I had a video that I had planned. I had another free-to-play battle logs because I just got Redeemer, well, recently over the weekend, and I was set to do that video. I'll have to shelve that because we got to talk about the devlog that just came out. And I got to say, mixed reviews on this one. For me, this is mixed, all right? I mean, we're going to go over it, all right? I am not going to play the full video or even, like, play and stop like I have done in the past, because I think that takes too long, and a lot of you have already seen it. If you have not seen it, I will link it below. You can watch that, so make sure you do that first before I do my quick version of the recap, because I'm going to try to fly through it faster this time, so I don't waste a whole lot of time. But yeah, alright, so first of all, they do their recap of stuff they've already put into the game, and when I saw this, I felt like they were just reading off the data sheet. They were reading off the numbers instead of getting real in-play data or the player experience, because you know, when you look at this, okay, first of all, they talk about the chain gun 8 specifically, and they said a lot of people are using it, very popular. I kind of get that, but it's more so the fact that you guys did a playoff where a lot more players got access to it. Really good playoff, by the way. You guys should do it more like that. So a lot more people have just had the weapon. As far as the weapon itself, it's pretty subpar. I've seen it far less, and I'm not just talking about on my main hanger. I'm talking about on my alt where I had it. I saw other people who had it, used it when they first got it, and then shelved it. As a legendary, it is subpar, and you don't want to put subpar legendaries in your hanger and then beef up the size of your SP to get harder enemies when you have a subpar legendary to play with. So in terms of actual, like, using popularity, I don't see this weapon anymore. So maybe they took all aggregate data from when it was first in the game, and has kind of said that it's popular, but it's not really popular. On the flip side, they said that Eclipse here is just like has a niche. All right, now this is a top tier mech in my opinion. All right, I mean, if you ask top players, pretty much all of them are putting it in their hanger. It right now is a top tier mech. The reason it's quote unquote niche is because it's only been in paid events, right? So that means that only people who are spending money have it, so a lot less of the player base have access to this thing if they're not going to spend money. So I don't really think that the data suggests, again, what is truly the value of these given items that they're talking about. So I think that they're really just looking at the data of this. I don't know. That's just how I felt about the recap. And I know it sounds kind of nitpicky, but the point is that they're not really engaging with the player base in this sense. They're just looking at the numbers to try and achieve what they want. And to me, that just shows a disconnect with your players. So it kind of bothered me. That's why I'm nitpicking at it. But we're going to move on, all right? We're going to go to the next thing, all right? They talked about this visual redesign that they're going to do. You know, I actually am for this. When they showed some of these screenshots, as well as the more recent designs they've been doing, I like the direction they're going in, but this is obviously subjective. There are going to be people who like the old designs versus these. I like this kind of look, but I do hope at the very least they keep the original skins of each of these mechs so that people have the option of, you know, having that look to it. Maybe you can view them as legendary, maybe you keep them as common, but as, like, you know, the default is just one that everybody has, just so that they can go back to that look if they prefer it. All right, I at least think that that would be a nice touch for them to do. I mean, they already have it designed in the game. It's not really hurting anything to just leave the skin in anyway, but just my thought. All right, now we got to talk about this new mech. All right, this new guy, Nomad. All right, I think it's ridiculous and kind of funny that they're just like, and you see this and you just think legendary kill shot, and you're basically right. They don't even beat around the bush of it. They're just like, this is a legendary kill shot. All right. I do appreciate that there's some difference of flavor to this, but I just feel like, you know, this isn't even all that creative, not really trying. If they're just going to, let's recycle the same stuff that we have and basically call it the same thing. You know, we already have Slingshot, we have Killshot, we have Surge. Do we really need another dash mech? In my opinion, no. We already have the legendary counterpart of that of Surge, and we have enough other speedy mechs that we don't really need this. The crazy thing is that they said that this is going to have high firepower, so does that mean it's 32 energy? That would be nuts. I don't know, but maybe it is. If it is 32 energy, that would be insanely useful. And they also alluded to having 2 forms of a dash, something relating to damage, but then being able to use the dash again, all right? That is just nuts to me, all right? The level of mobility and potential that this thing has sounds crazy. Obviously, it's legendary, so you'd expect it to be good. A lot of people are comparing it to Killshot or saying that it's kind of squishy, but this is legendary, so you have to at least expect or maybe assume that you're going to have like at least surge class health, all right? Again, fairly squishy, but already legendary HP, so it's higher up. And like they said, that it's going to have some kind of extra armor while it's doing its dash or something. So, you know, there's just, I think it just has too much stuff added onto it to make it really too good. And again, yeah, the idea of adding another dash mech, I just don't think it's necessary. I'd rather see some extra other items for flavor, but I don't know, just my personal opinion. It's obviously going to be something that I will test, and I think is going to be quite strong. I think you're going to see it, you know, in play for sure. All right. Do I think it's necessarily going to be the best? I don't know. From hearing this, it sounds really powerful, but we'll have to see how it is in practice. All right. Then we got into the new pilots here. All right. I have to say, I really like the designs of these pilots. They look really cool. I like especially the other one here. They got this kind of like robot dog one. Super fun. And just the overall like gritty design looks really cool from aesthetic. I love that one of these is a legendary barrage pilot. Thank you. We've wanted that for a while. So that's really good, but I do not understand why we're going to have a third close-up legendary mech. I mean, pilot. It just doesn't make sense to me when we already have 2 of those, and there's other categories like guided who don't have 2 legendaries. I mean, this guy could be guided. He's a dog, right? And we use disc launchers, so it could be like a frisbee that he catches in his mouth. There you go. We got a legendary pilot that's for guided. Come on. Why don't we do that instead of another legendary close-up pilot? I just don't see the reasoning for that. But I don't know. Probably because as we move on, we see this new weapon that looks like basically it's another shotgun weapon, right? Again, not a whole lot of points for creativity. This one seems to be different though. It almost seems like it's a double barrel shotgun. So I don't know if it's actually going to shoot 2 or if it's going to have more fire, but they did talk about the idea of the first shot being one that has overheat potential. You know, they showed a couple different comps of it to show like I guess again the different energy sets that we're gonna have of that. But it sounds interesting with the idea of the overheat. This one actually looks kind of like a Nerf gun. But the idea of overheat with this and then being able to pile on more damage after that overheat, depending on how much or how frequently it lands, sounds pretty interesting. It does sound like then I think they said it's going to be epic, right? So that means, you know, again, you're just moving up the chain. We made shotguns obsolete pretty much with the frag gun, and now that one is going to be obsolete if this guy is going to come out. It seems like it, right? It makes me wonder where this is going to go with the arcs, but we'll have to see how those both play out. Interested to test this one out, but I will say I am more interested to try this one out, the Typhoon. Now, I mean, I know that's a code name, may change the name, and we don't know a whole lot about this one, but, you know, a lot of people love the idea of the nade launcher, and I will say that's still a sleeper hit weapon to me. I still have not mastered or figured out how to do it, but I think it has a lot of potential. But to have one that maybe doesn't have as much range, but shoots out more than one nade, or like, you know, warhead at the same time, so more potential to actually hit the target, sounds really interesting. So I think that the idea of this weapon sounds good. Again, it feels like it's kind of a progression from nade launchers again, so I don't love that, but I love that they're trying to put some extra like flavor or spin into some of these things at the very least. I wish they would have more creativity for this stuff, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, that's another shot of it. Looks like they just have a couple different energy sets there. Then we get into the Q&A, all right? So this first one, I like the idea of, right? This has been one that everybody's been asking for, the ability to have preset hangers that you can switch around. Good quality of life potential update that's going to come in, but this is a little bit of a sting, in my opinion, based on the other recent change that they had, which was taking away implant discounts, all right? This is a big one. And, you know, this wasn't really covered, obviously, in the devlog, but I can't not talk about this, especially after they made this comment. My mind went right to the implant discount. It's just like, well, what's the point of me having 2 to 3 different hangers now if I can't really, you know, play around with my pilots and my implants? Sorry, my nose is really itchy. Anyway, I just, like, it felt like it kind of ruined that for me. So I pulled up these old screenshots of when they made the implant discount. that they put on Facebook, right? So when they said basically like, hey, we're going to leave the discount in, you're going to get 100% back, and we plan to leave it in. And in even comments when people said, how long is this going to be? Because implant discounts before this were only for a certain amount of time, and they had said, we don't plan to change this anytime in the future. We have no plans to change this at all, pretty much. For this foreseeable future was the way that it was pretty much phrased in there. So a lot of us have thought that this is just going to go on either forever or potentially could. Now, they've never said it will go on forever, but the way this was kind of set up, I think for a lot of people, they've been a little bit blindsided by this change. And I would wholeheartedly agree in that sense. You know, it's their game. They can do whatever they want to change it. We know that. And the idea that this is called an implant discount suggests that they may bring it back the way it was. But it was very aggravating to just see this and say, hey, we're only going to have it for 2 more weeks. And then also to see like that Q&A question, it just piled on to me. I just felt like it was really annoying and aggravating. I really hope this is something that they can either revert or think about, like, again, only having for a limited time or just getting rid of the whole thing altogether. I do think that this whole system of the implant removal costing, it doesn't encourage, you know, fun or experimentation. It's just a money cash grab. That's really all it is. And it's just an unnecessary added addition to this system. I've hated it. I think we all have since day one. It just is a weird item, period, like to the way this whole system works. But I can understand that, like, for them, they have to have ways to generate revenue, and it is a business, and I want them to be able to survive. So maybe their projected numbers were not there, and they had to go this route. I know when I asked them about this, they said something about, like, they're always trying to balance the game economy. It was kind of just general talk, but to me, the underlying code kind of meant we're not making enough money from this or projected, you know, from the way this is going, so we have to add this back in. That's the way it sounded to me. But, you know, it is what it is. I think we all kind of get that idea that they're, you know, this is just something they need to make money with. So, but it is what it is. All right, I'm just going to stop talking about it because otherwise it's going to get frustrating. The last thing that they had talked about was the idea of PvE. This is something that has been talked about a long time ago, and there were actually even hints, I have one here, of like different things that they were planning on doing. This was the idea of like some kind of boss mech, it seemed like, that had multiple phases, and even in the corner you can see there's like a juggernaut to show you like the relative size of this big mech versus him. There were other screenshots I wasn't able to pull up right now, but you know, the idea of PvE has been around for a long time. Obviously, they've made a better focus on PvP, and I would generally agree with that. I think a lot of players prefer that in general, but PvE content is always cool and very welcome. It sounds like they're kind of in the early stages of this, though. I mean, especially if it's just at the tail end of the Q&A, I would think this is probably still a ways out. Maybe even like next year's anniversary, we wouldn't see something like this. So, not anything I expect to happen anytime soon, but at least that, you know, was a cool thing to hear at the end. So, like I said, overall, mixed reviews for this for me. I'm always interested in the idea of new designs, new things that they're doing, but at the same time, this feels a lot like more of the same. And with the removal of the implant discount stuff, it just didn't, you know, feel like it really helped lift my spirits enough versus like that kind of information. But you guys can let me know what you thought of this devlog. Certain things you liked, what you didn't like, and your overall thoughts are always welcome in the comments below. And we will see you out there on the battlefield.